Owen Paterson is Rose's husband. He's also the MP for North Shropshire, and he joins me from the family home now. Owen, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Happy Easter to you.
And to you as well. An unimaginably awful time for you and for your family since Rose took her own life on the 24th of June last year. This week, with the Grand National, her beloved Grand National approaching, is going to be a poignant one and a very important one for you and your family. Just try and explain exactly how and why.
Well, thank you very much for your kind good wishes, and thank you very much to everyone watching. We had a huge number of messages from all over the UK, Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, France, Germany, United States. The racing world's been remarkable. And the many other areas where Rose so recently had charities and the art world, and obviously many those in the political world wrote in. And we, as a family, were completely unprepared for this, like so many. And it is very, very hard to describe the intensity of the anguish and misery it has caused. So if anyone's watching this, I really mean this, anyone is watching who's feeling a little anxious, a little unhappy, please talk. Please go and talk to a friend or a relation, because the damage you do when you take your own life is absolutely terrible. And that's why, as a family, we thought we would like to form a trust and try to do something. And our message is really very simple. If we could together just work towards stopping, just helping just one family from going through what we're going through, we will have done some good. So, as you say, the National is going to be extraordinarily difficult. This used to be a wonderful time of year. She used to put so much time into it. She'd be going to Aintree every day in the months and weeks building up. She was incredibly popular with all the people who worked there. We had wonderful messages from them. And then she was, becoming a major figure in racing. She'd been made a steward of the Jockey Club. She was doing great work on welfare. And she's in a very strong position to do that because she had a real feeling and affinity for horses. She rode beautifully. She had lovely hands. Ever saw her catch a horse in the mouth. Here in the stables, she was the one that always spotted the mud rash first. Horses always went for her. And she was incredibly well placed to help the Jockey Club and BHA develop new policies on horse welfare. And it's just tragic that's all been thrown away. It will be an extraordinarily difficult few days for us. But I'd also like to thank very much all those in racing, pay a real tribute to Nicholas Wrigley, incoming chairman, under very difficult circumstances. He and Dick and White have been marvellous. They've made us incredibly welcome and made it clear what we're doing. And actually Dickens' idea that we should launch the trust on Grand National Day, which we will do next Saturday, formally.
Sometimes when we talk about charitable initiatives such as this, Owen, we tend to talk about it in very broad brush terms and terms that perhaps people can't identify with sufficiently. I know you from particularly what you said to the Daily Telegraph last year and some of the conversations we've had. I know you want to really allow people to see inside your experience and what you and your family went through, very specifically in the moments and days surrounding Rose's own death, and for you to try and articulate, explain to people exactly the trauma that surrounded that.
Well, we'll never know definitively why she did it. We have sort of begun to get to grips with the idea of this sort of impulse. Good expression is a heart attack of the brain, or it's like a snake bite. But the message to get across, you said a few days after, we're 9 months on, and we are all still completely traumatized. And I don't see this going away. People kindly say time will heal. There's no sign of time healing at all. So what happens with suicide is that in a terrible moment of crisis, there is a catastrophically permanent solution taken by the person. And it has huge ramifications. I mean, the figures we've got, I've spent a lot of time in recent months talking to academics and specialists and people working in charities who've all been extremely kind, as I'm sort of blundering into this world, learning about it really firsthand. But the figures are shocking. It's 135 people it's estimated, are affected by every single suicide. And that has enormous ramifications. If you think there's, 6,500 suicides a year, that's not far off 1 million people who are really badly affected by this, not just for days and weeks. This will go on for years. So I really do think we have, if I can help in any way, as an MP at national level, I've had very good chats to Matt Hancock already, Nadine Dorries, Caroline Dinage. There are issues where I can get involved. There are these terrible websites on the internet, and I know Rose looked at some of these quite near to her death, and we have to be very careful talking about these in public. But there are ways of combating technology with technology, and they give a very beguiling message. They only talk about resolving the problem of the person concerned. They give no indication, these websites, of the absolute catastrophic damage to family and friends for many, many years afterwards. And so I think the sort of combination of having skin in the game, I hope we will raise a little bit of money, and I hope we will find some charities doing good work on suicide prevention. I think we can probably help with some research, and I think as I've got a foot in national politics, I can promote this at national level. I have the honour to be elected. I think I'm vice chairman of the all-party group now, and we'll work across parties. So I've had only messages this week from people right at the far end of the seesaw, at the other end of the Labour Party, who want to work with me, and I'm very happy to do that. But I do think with COVID, Rose had COVID, we both had COVID. I had it really badly, but she sort of brushed it off. I think that may have long-term implications. The figures from Professor Lewis Appleby is there's not been a noted increase in suicide yet, but he's very careful, Lewis Appleby, to point out that after the 2008 economic downturn, there was a spike, took some years to come through. And I do think we need a real national push on this, because 6,500 people a year, that's 15 jumbo jets. If 15 jumbo jets went down, you'd close down Boeing, Airbus, Rolls-Royce, General Electric, Department of Transport would be closed down. It would be a massive national issue. And yet this is going on. In the next 90 minutes, someone is going to take their life. And a whole family, for years and years, and friends, 135 friends of that person, will be devastated by it. And it goes on and on. So I just feel in our family, if we just do a little bit on this, if we could just save one family, we will have done something good. And that's our intention.
Oh, and are you trying to change people's perception of suicide, insofar as those of us who knew Rose, and obviously those of you who loved her so dearly, will have seen someone of great poise, great capability, great ability, somebody with so much to offer, and everyone was so deeply shocked that somebody like her could take their own life. Are you trying to reinforce the message that this could happen to any family, anybody, at any time, for any reason?
Yes, Nick, absolutely. And I'm being sort of brutally open and frank in public about this. You mentioned Telegraph interview. I got a very big reaction to that. And this actually is my first interview with anybody live since June. And I just hope I'm waking someone up. That I felt very strongly recent months that if Rose had known the damage she's done, obviously she's much the biggest victim, but if she'd known and had an inkling of the damage she's done, I mean, she was the kindest person, she was the least selfish person you've ever met. And this sort of vast network of friends and contacts who she's affected, if she'd just known about it, I really think she might have thought twice, and she might have mentioned it to us. I mean, what we go over every day is, how on earth didn't we notice? It just seems extraordinary. I was married for 40 years and didn't notice. And why didn't she tell us? And if we can get that message out, there might be someone watching this program now who's had a difficult time through COVID. Their business might be in trouble. They might have employment problems, money problems, whatever it is, health problems, family problems. Please, please talk to people. Don't consider this absolute shocking step. It doesn't solve anything. And we feel very strongly as a family, every single suicide is avoidable. And if only people would talk, and if only we notice, and if we all did more suicide awareness training. I've talked to the Zero Suicide Alliance. I mean, if you look at what Joe Rafferty's done at Liverpool Prison, You can be proactive, and suicide awareness training would be really helpful if everyone, literally, it would be wonderful, right across the health service, education, business, trade associations, whatever you want. If leaders of that would ensure they and their employees and their senior staff all did suicide awareness training, we might well have an impact on this. And I'm quite happy to be absolutely brutal in public about the absolutely astonishing, shocking impact it's had on us. It is totally, totally terrible. And there's nothing to look forward to. Wonderful sunny day today, Easter, taking my very horsey granddaughter on a pony who's learning to trot, although she's not yet 2. It wasn't happy. I just thought Rose should have been there. Why wasn't Rose there, doing a better job than me? And that's what I'd like to get across. I bet there's someone listening this morning. Please, please talk. Please go to your doctor. Please talk to your friends at work. Don't bottle it up, and don't take this terrible, terrible step, because it is absolutely permanent. There's no coming back from it. Every other problem is solvable. Nothing is solvable by suicide. Nothing whatever.
And Owen, I know, because I've spoken a little to you about this, that you and your family every day for the rest of your lives, I'm sure there's this soul searching, and you are incredibly hard on yourselves trying to work out whether you could have seen any signs that Rose might be about to take her own life, and you couldn't see those signs. But you did say to me that she's someone who suffered with what you might call a sort of generalized level of anxiety, like many of us do. It's incredibly common throughout society, and people do talk about it a little more now. Would you urge everybody just to be a little bit more aware of the possibility of that?
Yes, Nick, I think that's really important. So people talk about depression, and you have a sort of sad caricature of a person living alone and miserable and possibly turned to alcohol or whatever, and showing the manifestations of being very, very unhappy. Rose wasn't like that. Rose, we know, was anxious about things. She was anxious about making speeches or things, but when goes a huge amount of preparation, and she was a worrier about stuff. But we had absolutely no idea where this could lead. She was very conscientious, and I thought that was her just being very, very straight and proper and very hardworking, and always wanted to do her best. But we had no idea that this was going on behind the scenes. Absolutely no idea at all. And I would have said that she was anxious at times. If someone had asked her, she was, getting a bit anxious getting near the National. And of course, the National is this massive focus. Almost a year's work gets concentrated into, first of all, 3 days, and then a day, and then the 9 to 10 minutes of the race, and all the angst about making sure everyone gets around safely and everyone comes home, and it's a success. There was a lot, that did generate a lot of anxiety, definitely. But we had no idea what was really happening in her mind, and she didn't give us a hint of this, and we've talked about it a lot. So I think if anyone, again, watching this, any family, someone looks a little bit down or is possibly bottling things up, you talk to them, get on the front foot and talk to them about it. Because as you said earlier, if this could happen to Rose, it could happen to absolutely any citizen anywhere, because she had so much going for her in her life. And her life, her career was, as I said, in her later years, really, really taking off. And yet there must have been something terrible eating away. And it's absolutely extraordinary that I didn't notice. Completely extraordinary after 40 years. And she managed to hide it. So it cuts both ways. If you're the person feeling anxious, please talk. And if you're any family or friends or someone at work who looks a bit low, talk to them. Don't be sort of English and bottle it up. Talk to them.
Owen, I can't tell you how much we appreciate your candour today, also how much all of us in racing miss Rose and will do this week, but rest assured the legacy that she leaves at Aintree is one that will never be forgotten. Thanks so much for talking to me this morning.
Thank you, Nick.